Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm Rivka Sass, and I'm director of Sacramento Public Library. And thank you for joining us virtually for another wonderful Authors Uncovered event sponsored by Sacramento Public Library. And this time it's a little change of pace. I'm doing this from my kitchen table, and usually I'm in the library, but oh well, life intervenes some days. I want to mention a few things because I am your comic relief, but I'm also the person responsible for welcoming you and thanking you from the bottom of my heart for attending these events. We can't be with you physically. I just had a Wi-Fi glitch. Um, so let me tell you a few things. Look around you, figure out where the nearest exit is, and also make note of where the restrooms are in case you need to use one. Can you hear me all right now? I had the internet isn't perfect. Let's just get over that, I guess. So I want to tell you about a few things that are going on at the library. One is it's summer, and we are still doing summer reading program. We hope that you will join us. And I'm seeing some notes, so I'm going to make sure that I am still in. Okay. Sorry. My Wi-Fi just dropped. Yes. And now I'm okay. All right. Can you hear me all right? Somebody say yes, and then I'll know that we're okay. All right. It's summer, and we hope that you will sign up for Sacramento Public Library's summer reading program. And there should be a badge for tonight that you can unlock when you log into your Beanstack account to track your programs and books. So please do that. It's one way we know that you're connecting with us. So we want to make sure that you're doing that. We have lots of programs coming up. So please continue to check the saclibrary.org website. Make sure that your kids are participating in the various activities that we have going on for the next several weeks related to summer, and make sure that you're staying connected to us as well. As you may or may not know, we now offer curbside delivery in 25 of our 28 locations. We were hoping to open for computer appointments, but alas, we're locked down again a little bit, and hope to join you again as soon as it's safe for everyone to enter our libraries. So I want to make sure that you all know about the great things that we're doing. And so sign up if you haven't for the library's newsletter. Make sure you check out our social media. Follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. And let's please stay connected. I know all of us have started to wonder when this will all end and we can all be together physically again. And I guess the best way to make that happen is for us all to stay safe and get that curve lowered again so that California can once again be the amazing state that we are. So I want to also tell you that if you have not signed up for other resources from the library, we're now offering personal shopping. No, it's not like Nordstrom, but it's really amazing. So if you need some books to read or you need some books for your kids to read, please reach out to us and we will make sure that we're recommending some great books for your kids to read now and in the future. We're going to get started in just a minute. I think a little bit Oh, good. The code word for summer reading badges is Chesney, Chesney. So make sure that you do that. And thanks for the comment about my my picture wall. So the other thing I want to talk about just for a sec before we bring James Scott, Sacramento Public Library's archivist, and Will Chesney, our guest author, out to meet with you all, is that I wrote an article for our newsletter in case you don't get it. I hope you'll take a look at it, because one of the things that we were able to feature is the fact that we own the archive to the Sacramento Bee going back to 1857. And the article that I wrote actually talks about the flu epidemic of 1918. And I learned some interesting things as I was trying to make that connection between what was and what is. And I learned those thanks to help from James Scott, our archivist, as well as reading those old Sacramento Bee articles. It's a tremendous resource. And guess what? We were facing some of the same issues then that we face now. And I urge you to take a look at that. I urge you, when you can, also to visit our Sacramento room and see the amazing resources that we have for you, whether it's really being able to delve into our own local community's history, or to see some of the fun things we have. And I know James and the staff of the Sacramento room would love to be able to show you all of those things. I also want to make sure that you know that tonight's event is closed caption. And I think our closed captioner is named Kara. She'll do her best to stay up with the authors. But if you look at the bottom of your screen, on mine, it's a green box with right writing that says, click here for closed captioning. Apologies to those of you who might be colorblind. Those are probably the two worst colors in the universe to try to see, to try to read on the screen. But it says, click here for closed captioning. Please take advantage of that if you need help hearing the speakers or want to read some of the text. So again, I think with no further ado, if it's all right with James and Will, we'll actually get started a little bit early tonight. And again, please check out saclibrary.org. Call us at 916-264-2920 with your questions, and we'll be happy to answer them. That service is available 7 days a week. And please stay connected to Sacramento Public Library. Let us know how you're coping while we're all living through these very interesting times. And make sure that you're reading, make sure you're connecting, and especially that you're staying connected with us. So I think with no further ado, we will invite James and Will on stage. And I'll be back in a bit to close out the program after they have a chance to have a great conversation. I know you're really going to enjoy it. And James, I'm turning it over to you. Thank you so much. See you later.
Thanks so much, Rivka, and welcome everyone to tonight's event, and welcome to the splendor of the Sacramento room that you see all around me. Will, this is an absolute honor. Congratulations on your book. Thank you for being here tonight. And as we say to all of our veterans, welcome home.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.
You bet, you bet. So, Will, I read tons of military history. And in a lot of cases, I find it really hard to penetrate. And one of the beauties that comes up when I read No Ordinary Dog is that it's extremely accessible. Your writing style, the prose is extremely conversational. You know, it's like sitting in your living room in Texas, where you are right now, with you in Cairo. And for 4 hours, I get a window into your life. So it's fantastic. And it's all about human interest, and then also obviously canine interest. But I was wondering if you could go ahead and give us a bit of a synopsis of No Ordinary Dog.
It's basically a tribute to Cairo. It's kind of like a Navy SEAL Marley in me. It's goes into my beginnings, a little bit of my childhood, how I went through BUDS, basic underwater demolition SEAL training, that's not an easy thing. And I can't take credit for writing this all on my own. I had Joe Laden help me, and he helped me put together a great story for Cairo. I mean, I couldn't be happier. And so it goes into my beginnings, and it kind of goes into Cairo's beginnings as well. They have to go through their own little training and selection process, kind of like a doggy buds.
Right.
So it goes through that, his beginnings, how we ended up meeting, some of the training we went together on, a couple of missions that we worked together on. It goes into the big mission, and then it goes into the end of my career and his career as well, and end of life.
Right. So the way I've kind of structured things tonight is we're going to move sort of chronologically through the book. And the first thing I want to ask you about, you're a Texan. So we start at the very beginning of the book, and you're this young Texas kid in Eastern Texas. And we learn right away that you're gifted with two primary traits. One is that you're extremely resilient. And then two, you're also an extremely hard worker. And this manifests itself in a lot of different ways. But I was wondering if you could talk about those traits and how they pushed you to basically reaching what is pretty much the defining goal of your life, and that's becoming a United States Navy SEAL.
I guess my parents and grandparents kind of taught me, if you're going to do something, you might as well do it right.
Yeah.
But I would say I was fortunate enough to find something that I really wanted to pursue in life, and that was being a SEAL. Wasn't much of a I don't think I would have done very well in college. If I wanted to be a doctor or something like that, I needed to be in school. I'm sure I would have done that. But I'm more of a hands-on kind of guy, and something about the SEALs drew me in. I think it was the fact that I wanted to serve and also test myself, prove myself that I had what it took to be a SEAL. Some say it's some of the hardest military training in the world, and I agree.
Yeah.
So I think I was just blessed to find that thing that I didn't have to get paid to do. That's something I'd give it my all, and being a SEAL was it. And
yeah. So
to instill those values in me to help me along the way.
Right. Yeah, and so the statistics, if you're interested in becoming a SEAL, you'll go to BUDS in San Diego, which is basic underwater demolition SEALs. And there's a bevy of challenges that sort of come your way. And, folks, you'll read the book eventually, but the elephant run, the O course, surf laundry, I can go on and on and on, but will you go back to this spot when you describe these extremely difficult things you're going through to train, and you refer to your happy place? Could you talk a bit about that? And has that ever gone away? Has that sort of stayed with you through your service and into post-veteran life?
I think it has a little bit. For some reason, I was a little more resilient back then, but we all go through our tough times. I always try to keep that in mind. Your happy place can be anything. I mean, it always comes to an end. It was always, how bad do you want to be there?
Right.
The way I like to sum it up is, it's not, being a SEAL isn't just something that you do just to say, hey, I'm a Navy SEAL. It's a job where you literally have to be willing to lay down your life for your friends, for your country. And like to say, like a guy named Mike Mansour, he literally jumped on a hand grenade saving his brothers on a rooftop. That's the kind of job it is. And in order to get those kind of people, you have to make it hard. And there's an 80% attrition rate, and
right.
That's why. But I knew why I wanted to be there. I really did want to be there, obviously. And I just remember being surf tortured. That's probably one of the easiest things. I mean, maybe not for some people. Everybody's different. Everybody has their thing. Maybe cold water was one person's thing. But for me, surf torture wasn't fun, but it wasn't one of the worst things for me. You just lay there and let the cold water wash over you. At the end of the day, I guess I knew the Bloods instructors were Navy SEALs, and they must be pretty squared away, and they're not going to let you die.
Right.
So they're going to push you to the limit, but you're in good hands. And if it did happen, well, that's, I gave it my all, and that's, that's just God's purpose, I guess. That's, can't be scared. I knew what I was there to do, and nothing would stop me. If I didn't really want it that bad, I would have rang the bell like most of the guys. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
In order to do that job, you just, you have to be willing to do some pretty intense things. So sorry about the dogs.
Yeah. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. That's what this is about. I'd have my dachshund here if I could. So, you mentioned the bell, the DOR bell, the drop on request, right? Can you tell us a bit about that? Because you use that in the book just so well as a reminder not to give up and to just stick with it if you could.
Yeah, the bell's always with you at any time. They make it real easy for you to quit at any point. Even when you're doing evolutions where you run miles down the beach, the instructors will strap it to the back of the truck and have it handy for you just in case.
Oh, so they brought it down to the beach, and so it was okay.
I mean, even if it's not around, they usually will bring it everywhere with us, and if it's not, you can still just quit at any point.
Yeah.
So
you have this line in the book, with reference to the DOR bell. Relief was instantaneous, so was shame. And it just seems like that was maybe something that just kind of kept you going.
Yeah, I just never really crossed my mind to ring the bell.
Yeah.
I remember being during Hell Week, which Hell Week is pretty intense in itself. If nobody's heard of Hell Week, I'd go Google it. It's 5.5 days of no sleep, and they you get 4 hours total. They give you 2 blocks of 2 hours, and it's intense. By the end of it, you're walking bow-legged and everything's chafed, and it's terrible. The hair was rubbed out of the top of my head from carrying the boats on me, but yeah, that alone was a pretty intense process. Yeah.
So you graduated, became a SEAL, and you were off to Iraq with SEAL Team 4, and you were deployed there for a couple of years. And the opportunity soon arose for you to become a handler with a military working dog, or an MWD, and I always mix that up with WMDs. And I realize a Malinois can be a weapon of mass destruction in a lot of ways. But what was it about that role as a handler that appealed to you?
I saw the value in the dogs. When you become a SEAL, it doesn't stop there. You can still go away at any time. You can be asked to leave. You can quit at any time. When you're there, you always have extra responsibilities, or collateral duties, as we like to call it.
Okay.
Just like I was drawn to being a SEAL, you just kind of pick whatever you're drawn to, whether it's sniping or breaching, skydiving. I love dogs. I've always had dogs growing up as a kid. On one of my first deployments with my squadron, I saw how valuable the dogs were. Over and over again. There's another saying in the book. I remember being in the team room once and somebody saying, "Hey, raise your hand if a dog's ever saved your life." And everybody's hand went up.
Oh, right.
Yeah, multiple stories. I got to see that in person, overseas, and over and over again. There's not a lot of guys that want to handle a dog. I mean, some guys do. Some guys don't want. It's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of extra work, and and also if you're not being used, it's not the best job to have. So,
right.
But I saw an opportunity. I needed to go to a school. I love dogs, and if I had one opportunity to save one of my buddies from getting hurt, killed, I saw the value in the dogs, and also wanted to make myself more valuable, because the more valuable I am, the more missions I get to go on. Right.
Right.
Buying, guys, you need somebody that can handle a dog. And so I would go to all these schools that just to make myself valuable. And if you're valuable, they'll keep you around. The more they keep you around, the more stuff you get to do. And that kind of mindset worked out fairly well for me, considering I was just trying to keep up with a bunch of pretty tough dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so you enter this program to be a handler, and you go back to Virginia, right? And you are exposed to a number of different dogs, most of them the Belgian Malinois, which we'll talk about this breed in a second. But you eventually meet Cairo. And I was wondering if you could tell us what it was about Cairo that appealed to you. Did you see some of yourself in Cairo? And then conversely, I do wonder if Cairo saw some of himself in you along the way. What was it about this dog, this amazing dog?
So much to that I want to say. I think, just somewhat, so that, one of my friends the other day said, you're just like a Malinois, you never stop. So all the dogs are kind of like that. We have hard driving dogs. Like I said, the dogs go through their own screening, and the dogs that we select, they're all really hard workers. Some of them might get weeded out for different things. Maybe one of them scared of gunfire, but they usually test most of this stuff out of them. Maybe there's just a certain environmental thing that they're not going to mesh well with us. I didn't know anything about dog training, let's be honest. I had dogs growing up, but I didn't know anything. I learned quite a bit from the whole, we can have this whole podcast on what I learned from dogs in the dog program and going through Ride the Horse and Reavers and all that stuff in California. But what I saw in Cairo, and there's another dog, Bronco, all the dogs were really hard driving dogs, really hard workers. There might have been a few there in the beginning that weren't working out so great, but for the most part, they're all hard workers. I just saw that Bronco and Cairo might have been a little friendlier than normal. Really, really maybe top picks, but also kind of laid back. As I said, I didn't know anything. It was on people that we had at command, other trainers, other people in charge that made the decisions. So, just like people, all dogs are different, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Really great trainers and people in charge that would go through all the new trainers and handlers, or all the new handlers would go through with all the new dogs and get hands-on experience, and the trainers would sit there and watch and see how the personalities mixed and matched. And they would make the assessments, and I honestly didn't care either way. It was I'm pretty laid back myself, I guess. Sometimes the trainers saw the bond that me and Cairo, or I guess the team that me and Cairo made, and they made that choice. And if you read the book, you can see that I worked with Cairo I worked with Bronco after Cairo was shot. And I know me and Cairo had a lot more time to work together, but I'm really glad the trainers made the decision to put me and Cairo together, because that was a really good team. Obviously.
Yeah.
But, me and Bronco, we just didn't mesh as well together. And I take full responsibility for that. It's just me as a handler, and my skills as a handler not being able to, it's not easy to handle a dog and read a dog. And everybody's personality is different. And I have my faults, and the dog has his faults. And if I'm not able to adjust accordingly, I take responsibility for it. But it was on the trainers as well to see that, and they made the right decision. I think they made a pretty good decision.
Yeah, I'd say so. So if you could tell us a bit about what makes the Malinois such an ideal dog as a working dog and a military working dog.
Yeah, I think they're just like shepherds, really smart. I think both of those dogs. There's a lot of great working breeds: Huskies, Doberman, Labs. You got your hunting dogs, you have your service dogs. For us, the Malinois have so much energy. They have so much drive. We need the dog that's not only going to go into a dark room by itself and get into a fight with somebody twice its size that's literally trying to kill us and not come out of there. They've got to be able to be around gunfire, explosions, fast roping, skydiving.
Right.
So they need high energy, high drive dogs. Shepherds are great as well. They just they're bigger, so the Malinois can be 60, 70, 80 pounds. My German Shepherd gets up to 120 sometimes.
Right.
You know, fast roping and skydiving with a 60-pound, 70-pound Mal or 120-pound Shepherd. It's give me the Malinois, please. Like, you know, I'm gonna strap that 120-pound thing to my belt. Like, please, no, thank you. But they're real smart. I love Shepherds. They also have longer hair, and we work in pretty hot environments sometimes.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, we got to hoist dogs up on roofs or something. It just makes it a little easier, a little tight, and get in tighter spots. But yeah, they're great high energy working dogs for just what we need. A lot of drive, they're real loyal, they're real smart, got a lot of fight.
So there's one little snippet out of the book that I thought we could talk about. And I don't think I'm giving much away, but you're on an operation and you're working out of Kandahar, and it's you in Cairo and other operators, and you breach a building, and to your surprise, you enter and there are sheep all over the place. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about that scene and then what it said about Cairo as a professional.
Definitely. That was our first stop together. So we like to plan for everything. We put in a lot of work. So I had my SEAL responsibilities and I had my dog responsibilities. And the people that I had working with me and in charge of me on the dog side, you know, on all sides, but on the dog side, great people. You know. Together, we thought we had covered pretty much everything that we would see. You know, we planned for every contingency we could possibly think of. You know, Murphy's Law always takes effect, right? So, get overseas, me and Cairo feel confident. I mean, just with the dog training school that we went to in California, Adler Horse International, people were great. We felt very comfortable. And then we went through a lot more training when I got back to my squadron. But once we got overseas, you know, still you never know what's going to happen. Still have that iffy feeling, I guess. How is he going to respond? And how am I going to do? But I know we planned for everything. As soon as the gates opened, there's a whole courtyard full of sheep. I'm like, all right, perfect. The one thing we didn't plan for, the one thing we didn't rehearse, we didn't go get a courtyard full of farm animals and stick them in somewhere. And but knowing that was on me to know Cairo, I didn't know. Knowing him the way I knew him, after a little while, I knew he wouldn't have done anything. Yeah. I could have just let him be, and he wouldn't have attacked any sheep. But if he does attack a sheep, things are gonna make noise, gonna wake everybody up. Guys are gonna get mad at me. I'm gonna get yelled at. I could get fired. But no, seriously, you could actually get somebody injured or killed. So it was a big deal. But I won't give away, I guess, any more of the story. People will have to read the book to figure out what I did. But we made it work. And knowing Cairo, how I know him now, with his mellow, laid-back temperament, things would have been just fine. But we made it work. Thinking on your feet and off your feet, I guess, is one way to put it.
Yeah, no, it's a really incredible moment in the book, and it says a lot about you guys as trainers, as handlers, but also just the professionalism of the dogs and their temperament, and that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So let's move ahead to May of 2011, and we get to Operation Neptune Spear. Which results in the elimination of Osama bin Laden. And you, at this point, have been through hundreds of operations. And Cairo's been through quite a lot as well at this point. But wondering if you could tell us about the operation. Just the atmosphere, the tension, landing in Abbottabad, and then what your role was with Cairo when you guys were on the ground.
Definitely, I got a little pretty funny story a little bit beforehand. We had just returned back from deployment, and so me and Cairo were really fresh. I was no longer supposed to be a dog handler, but I was at a school with one of my best best friends named Nick Check. And we're out in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. And I get a call from my boss saying, got a plane ride for you tonight, forget what time. Check out of there and catch your flight. And in the morning, grab Cairo and show up. Okay, I was 20 something, mid-20s. I didn't have that. Being a SEAL was my job. I didn't have much else going on. That was it. I loved my job. I was an all-encompassing job, so I didn't care. Sure, yeah, I'm glad. Thanks for calling. Hopefully we get to do something cool. Kind of attitude, being a 20-something-year-old, but didn't ask any questions. I don't have to ask any questions. I didn't care. It was my boss is calling. I don't care what it is. You say do it, and we're doing it. But personally, like, it didn't matter to me anyways. Like, I hope it's something fun. Go back to the classroom and I tell him, right, actually, it was a little weird. I go back and I tell Nick, I'm like, hey, we got to get home. And he's like, no, it's not me. It's just you. I thought that was really weird. And it was. It struck me really weird. I'm like, why? Because Nick was a way better operator than I was. He just was. He was a great guy. And it just hit me so weird. I'm like, why would they be calling me and not you? It's just because of Cairo. So I knew that was it because he told me to get Cairo in the morning. But it was try to go through the process of getting checked out of the school. Try to make this a little shorter. End up getting kind of going through the ringer a little bit. And finally, I just ended up leaving a note saying, hey, call my boss at this number. I got to go. Got a plane to catch. Got to go.
Yeah.
Got to go. Can't be around. Got a plane to catch. And my buddy Nick, so everybody, in order to get through buds, you got to have a pretty good sense of humor. I guess you don't have to, but that's what most of us have a pretty good sense of humor. I made some of the best friends ever make good buds. So Nick, he had a pretty good sense of humor for an ugly guy. No, I'm just kidding. He's really handsome. But he goes back to the classroom and he tells everybody, being a SEAL, we never quit. He tells everybody, like, hey, where'd your friend go? He's like, oh, he quit. Straight face, right in front of the whole class. And it's a mix of Army, Navy, everybody. He quit. So that was a good one. He definitely got me good. So I don't know if I ever got him back for that.
And that's recounted in greater detail in the book.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we get that call, and that was weird from the beginning, just because he really was a better man than me, I would say. And that it's just once we showed up, grabbed the dog, things were a little weird for a while. Eventually, we were told what was happening, and anybody could have backed out. We knew that our job was pretty dangerous to begin with, of course, and we just knew this might be a little more dangerous because of who we were going after. But it was nobody stepped down. It's just the way it was. Nothing really changed. I would say just the fact of who we were going after. It was a little bit different.
Right. Okay.
Always training hard. We're always doing the same thing. We just continued doing a little bit of training, and everybody took it very serious, but everybody always took the job very serious. It was just a great feeling to have the opportunity to be a part of something like that.
Right. And Will, I apologize to interrupt. By this point, you are on, well, the name of the team is classified, but you had done training team to be able to get on to this team, correct?
Development group.
Yeah. So basically you've reached the apex so you've reached the SEALs, and then you've reached the very top of the SEALs, which obviously means you're on this trip.
You got to go through another selection process. It's like a buds for SEALs, basically. And they know you won't quit, so it's mostly performance.
Right. Okay.
And, none of the SEALs are going to quit. So it's like, all right, perform. I was lucky enough to make it through there without too many issues. But eventually we were told what was happening. Everybody just made sure their life insurance policies were up to date. And a lot of kids wrote letters to their families. And try not to tell my mom too much. I didn't want her worrying, and my grandparents. But I didn't say anything to my father, just that I was going overseas and I might not be coming home. Couldn't say anything, but that night, our role, I say my responsibility that night was just babysit Cairo.
Yeah.
It really was. The dog's capability, his tool, his biggest tool is his nose. My job was to put him in the best position to use his nose and watch him for any signs, any change in behavior that might alert us. He was trained to detect explosive odor and man odor. So that night, we did a couple of sweeps of the perimeter. After we were dropped off, we did a couple of sweeps of the perimeter, looking for any IEDs, explosives, tunnel systems, and anything. Just looking at Cairo, seeing any changes. Once we felt the perimeter was secure, we moved our way to the inside. Apologize for the rain. We made our way to the inside where we conducted sweeps of the, start off the first floor, second floor. Once we felt everything was secure, and eventually the call was made, the mission was accomplished. And that was, the mission wasn't over there. That was, I could definitely remember that moment, but we didn't have time to celebrate. We were still doing sweeps. Eventually the call was made that we got him. I guess that the thing that went through my mind then, still working, didn't really have time. And in the book, it kind of goes through a little celebratory thing that we did. That lasted 1 second, maybe. It's like, got to go to work. You can't stop to do that. But I definitely remember the call. At least what went through my mind then was at least it was done. Even if we don't make it home, at least we knew it was done. And then once we felt everything was secure, we had to get out of there pretty quick. Got on the helicopter. It's pretty crazy just the kind of what all happened on that night and the detail. It goes into way more detail in the book. I keep saying that, but it was pretty crazy, even just the exfil on that night. But it still wasn't over. Right? We had to make it back, and didn't really relax until the moment that sticks out to me is we landed and walking back into the hangar. And I remember looking around, seeing that everybody was okay. Nobody was killed. None of us. The mission was accomplished, and it was done. And I got to deal with Cairo. But I mean, that was the moment that I really, we still had work to do after that. But that was the kind of moment I knew everybody was going to be okay, and I knew that we made it back safely, and the mission was accomplished.
Right.
So that's the kind of moment. I did have a couple of other moments that I do remember, but we were still working. And even after that moment, we were still working. I just can remember taking a breath. Like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even before it was done, it's like, well, we still might not make it home. And we still got a job to do.
Right.
And we still had a job to do after that, but at least I knew, hey, we made it back. So.
And there was peril all throughout because you guys had to fly through Pakistani airspace to get to Abbottabad. And then you also expected the compound to be wired, right?
Yeah, we had to. It was a long flight. We could have been shot down at any minute. And who we were going after, we just figured we ran into suicide vests quite often. That wasn't it's not uncommon for anybody in the military serving overseas. I'm sure suicide vests are very common. We figured at least that, if not the whole house rigged to explode. There's a lot of heroic stuff that happened that night. The guys will never talk about. A couple of other books that were written, but even other than those books, the helicopter pilots, those guys. I mean, they just think about one of the biggest missions in history. So no pressure.
Yeah.
Something really bad happened. The helicopter pilot could have just crashed and killed everybody on a bird. Instead, not only did he land it, he said he could fly it out of there.
Right. And this is the Night Stalkers, right? Which is an elite
They are
helicopter unit, transportation unit.
To say the least. They're pretty. Yeah, they're great. They're great men. I'll fly with them anywhere.
Yeah.
Let alone the intel people that came up with the intelligence on that. It was one of those things where you're not 100%, but you can't always say 100, but let's just say 99. Guys were. You could tell that the people dedicated pretty much their entire lives to putting this together for us. It was very, I guess, humbling to see. I don't know how to. It was just like impressive It's like, wow,
Right.
you put in some work. Kind of felt bad after it was over because it's like, what do you do now?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there is a huge backstory to this that involves a number of different analysts, CIA analysts that were involved, and of course the bombing in Coast. So you're right. Yeah, a lot of work goes into this one operation. Years of work. Yeah.
Yeah. So we felt really comfortable with the intelligence. We felt comfortable with people flying us in. Obviously, I was very comfortable with teammates. Not only did they almost just die on a helicopter crash, they jumped right off, and it worked out in their benefit, I would say. They just didn't even skip a beat.
Yeah.
Okay? Didn't even skip a beat. Almost dying in a helicopter crash to accomplishing one of the biggest missions in history. Good job.
Right.
I wasn't on that helicopter. I landed safely like normal. I don't think I was in I don't think I was ever in a helicopter crash. No.
Okay.
So a lot of guys were in multiple. I think yeah.
Okay. So the mission is accomplished, and you're eventually separated from Cairo. In 2013, you're in an operation. It ends up being your last operation in Logar province, which is located to the far east of Afghanistan, near the border with Pakistan. And on an operation, you suffer a blast injury. You're hit with shrapnel, and you also suffer traumatic brain injury. The road back for you is extremely long. It's a long process. But what helps you along the way is your dog, Cairo. I was hoping you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. And in 2012, I was hit by a hand grenade. After that mission, the big mission, I was no longer supposed to be a handler even before that. So after we got back from that mission, it was my responsibility with him was over. I turned it back over to be a spare dog, but he was staying in the squadron, in the family, like I say. So I knew he was in good hands. And I had some of my own personal issues I was dealing with at the time, and some drinking issues. I don't think I was doing so great. I eventually got back on my feet, I feel. On my first operation back with my guys, I'm really glad I didn't have Cairo with me because I took a grenade injury in the back. And if he would have been with me, he probably would have gotten hit by shrapnel because I like to say I got 2 Forrest Gump wounds. Those were the blunt of my injuries. Where I took a little bit in the hand and a little bit in the face, but I did not have Cairo with me, and I'm glad I didn't because there's no telling if he would have gotten hit.
Yeah.
So that was, I would say, the end of my career was that grenade injury in 2012. As I said, I had some previous issues I'd been dealing with. I think that was this tipping point. That concussive blast. I mean, being a SEAL, you do a lot of breaching, a lot of hard hits. It's a pretty rough job. I put a lot of alcohol along with the loss of some of my friends on top of that, and it put me in a pretty bad place. Luckily, I had a lot of great teammates and bosses that cared about me. They did literally everything. They put me through every treatment they had, and I just couldn't get back to feeling like my normal self. Something was off. It actually ended up working out well. I ended up getting retired in 2015. That's how long, I got injured in 2012. We did about 3 years of medical procedures and different processes. 2015, it was finally time to call it, and I was getting medically retired. Navy had done everything. They exhausted all options. But Cairo was coming to the end of his career as well, so, showing signs of old age. If I was still working as a SEAL, I might not have been able to take him home. These are working dogs. Just because, you watch Max and, you see that, make the movie Max or whatever, and you think, oh, they're all friendly. Cairo, you read about Cairo's story, and he was a really friendly dog too, but not all the dogs are like that. These are working animals. So you have to treat these dogs with respect at all times. The command has to evaluate the dog and the home the dog is going to. Every dog is different, just like every person, as I said.
Right.
If I was still working, they probably wouldn't have given them to me. I wouldn't have been able to take care of them traveling so much as a SEAL. Since I was going through all my medical procedures, I had a lot of medical appointments to attend. It was just kind of put me in an easy job where I could make all these appointments, and I was home a lot. So I put in my package to receive them along with a couple of other people, and they saw that I was home and I was able to give him the proper care that he needed, and I was approved. And eventually, sometimes things take a while in the military. It definitely took a little bit of time. But eventually, the call was made. They saw I was able to take care of him, and I got to take him home. And I think it was very good for my mental well-being. I think animals, especially dogs, it just depends on what kind of person you are.
Sure.
If you're a pig person, go get yourself a pig. But for me, I was a dog person. I love dogs. Having Cairo home, which is really good for me. And he wasn't a service dog, but we had been through a lot together. We were on the Bin Laden Raid together. He was shot beforehand. Before that, and then not to ruin it, but he had a pretty rough go at the end.
Yeah,
it was not the easiest thing, but it was really good for me to be able to be there for him, to take care of him towards the end of his days. It's very important. I mean, look at all he did for me, for us, for all of us.
right.
And being there for him was very important, especially it was not the easiest.
And Will, one thing I want to broach is, obviously our servicemen and women who come home, many have to grapple with PTSD and its impacts. But the truth is, and you mentioned this in the book, Cairo had to deal with his own form of PTSD. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about that.
Yeah, he towards the end of his life, he started acting really weird with thunderstorms. I've never seen him. He'd been around gunfire plenty of times. Helicopter rides, explosions. He'd been shot, and even after being shot, he was still normal.
Yeah,
it never happened. Towards the end, he would try to hide. He would jump up in our laps and try to hide under stuff just during thunderstorms, along with some other things. It's just weird to see. So I guess even animals have their own issues they deal with as well sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's move ahead a bit, and the experiences that you went through, both as someone who has had to push their way through PTSD and then also traumatic brain injury, you sort of paid that forward. And I was wondering if you could talk a bit about what you've done to help other servicemen and servicewomen who've come back from theaters of conflict. What are you doing right now in that endeavor?
Right now, I'm just talking about my own experiences, and I'm looking to find the right place to plug myself in more. Until then, I just telling Cairo's story, and
yeah.
I can talk about Cairo all day long. Along the way, I just talk about some of the own personal issues I've dealt with. And I like to say there's a lot of different modalities to try. I was in a really bad place. After exiting the military, it was a huge transition. Transitioning alone is hard on a lot of people, let alone the traumatic brain injury and everything else I was dealing with. I had a lot of migraines and memory loss. At some points, I even thought I was going crazy. If it wouldn't have been for my hair falling out and my fingernails falling out sometimes, I might have thought I was going a little bit, making it up. Am I making this up? I used to feel like I could operate here, and I was this, and then now I'm here. And something is off.
Right.
It's really funny. It's a hard thing when it's your own mind. You can't fix it. You can't even. It's your brain. You can't figure it out. So and then it makes you question yourself. It's a tough place to be in. So I like to tell people out there, they are struggling, or they know somebody that's struggling. So reach out to somebody, or reach out to your friend. I didn't reach out. It took my best friend, Jared Shaw, to reach out to me and drag me to one of my first brain treatment places. And there's a lot of great people out there willing to help. There's a lot of different modalities to try. I'm not sure exactly where I'm going to plug myself in yet, but I will just do like to bring attention to a few of them, whether it's fasting or meditating, yoga. There's all kinds of eating right, your diet, and there's all kinds of different things to try. I'm still learning more and more each day. I'm just bringing awareness to Cairo's story. We're a big piece of history. After we accomplished the mission, there were some things that were out in the media that weren't completely accurate, let's just say. So I read SEAL books growing up. I think most of us did. Watched Navy SEALs with Charlie Sheen.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like I said, it's a big piece of history. Cairo was a great dog. The only thing that people really know about him is the big mission. And there was so much more to him than just that. It's an honor to be able to tell his story and bring attention to not only him, just a lot more dog teams.
Right.
Our group alone that did amazing things. Just I'd like to bring attention to them. Not just them, the whole military and law enforcement. I mean, there's dogs that sacrifice their lives for us to keep us out of harm's way. And I don't know if people really realize that. I mean, it happens quite often. And I get to bring attention to some of the foundations that help them. There's some teammates, Spike's Canine Fun, Jimmy Hatch, and Mike Ritland, John Devine. There's a bunch of good foundations out there that are doing really great things for these dogs. And if we ask these dogs to do so much for us, we better give back to them. And we do. We treat them with the same respect. So it brings attention to history, brings attention to the dogs, what they could do for us, and telling my own personal story as well. It isn't easy, but if it can help a few people out, I know there might be a couple of veterans. The veteran suicide rate is pretty outrageous. And if I can help just one person by telling my story, then perfect. I'll get here and tell it all day long, over and over again, if it just helps one person. I like to talk about Cairo anyway, so I might as well talk about my own mistakes and what I've learned over the years. And I heard my teammates. I mean, even intermittent fasting, I heard one of the guys I respected so much in the team, truly respected. I heard him talk about it. He didn't exactly call it intermittent fasting. He called it something else, and it went right over my head.
Yeah.
Fast forward when I'm hurting in a bad place and I hear about it in a different context and I try it and I think I dropped 70 pounds almost. I try and just, I think that's one modality. Yeah, everybody's different. I think everybody should try all these different ones out. Try them, give them a good shot. Try some of them together and pick and choose the ones you feel and come back to them later. I don't know. It's not a quick fix. It's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. I guess let's sum it up.
So it's a fantastic book, and it's where you're going to find all the detail from beginning to where Will is right now. So you definitely need to read it. And by the way, I got one of the books with the trident on it, so I'm very happy about that. So one of the last things I want to ask you, Will, is this is a library program. And I'm a librarian, so I have to ask a library question to you. And so I want us to go all the way back to the Lumberton Public Library in East Texas. And I want you to talk a bit about the influence of the library in your life. And if you can, don't want to put you on the spot, but what's your favorite book?
Favorite book? Well, nowadays, the good book. Of course, I don't read it as much as I should. But I'm working on that. That's the number one thing that I found helps with me, at least. I would say growing up, the library had a huge impact. I loved the library growing up as a kid. I think that might have teetered off towards the end of high school.
Yep.
Girls and other stuff might have taken its place, but I remember, one of my favorite books growing up, Where the Red Fern Grows.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, that's a great book, I remember. But there's so many good books these days besides the good book, that it's hard to just give credit to one. It's hard. There's a lot of great literature out there. Yeah.
Right. And it just keeps coming.
It does. I start getting anxiety seeing all the books I need to clean up and finish up. I do. I got a lot of good books I need to burn through. And I do a lot of audiobooks these days and a lot of podcasts, but
yeah. I do too, actually.
Yeah.
I do too. No, it's a great way to, I don't know, get through chores or whatever.
Yep.
If you can think of it, it's out there for you.
Yep.
So, Will, I want to say thank you very much for answering my questions. It's been a true honor spending time with you. Now I think we're going to go ahead and pivot over to Rivka, and I think she's got some questions.
All right.
Got several for you, Will, so I'll turn things over to her.
So many questions, Will.
All right.
I have to tell you, I'm a huge animal lover, and I have 2 dogs, and I have a grand dog who's staying with me right now while my kids are out of town. It was incredibly moving. James, thank you. You did a beautiful job as the questioner, but Will, it's just such a moving story. And we do have some questions from the audience, and I'm going to try to get us through all of them if that's okay. So Barbara wants to know how long dogs serve, and I'm not sure if we caught that. So if you did say it, would you mind repeating it?
It just depends on the animal. Every person's different. Every dog's different. Some dogs can do 2 years and have an injury or just not work out, and they can either be retired or they can go to a different department. Sometimes if the animals aren't working out with our group, we'll give them to law enforcement. And so it depends. It all varies. If the dog gets injured and is not able to work anymore, if Cairo would have been injured or not been able to work again after he was shot, then he would have been retired there. Ended up, not only did he not, he went on to do other things. Even when I was retired, he wasn't retired. He was a good dog, so they kept him around as a spare dog for a while. It just, it all just varies.
So it's like being an athlete, I suppose. If
Exactly.
You've got it. Yeah. Okay. That's great. Thank you. How did Cairo make the transition from being a working military dog to being your personal
He loved
dog?
He made the transition by eating my tuna fish sandwich on one of the first days home. It was perfect. I forgot
Had you been separated for a while when you got back together?
I didn't have it, but I would go visit him. I could see him.
Okay.
For my medical appointments, and I had time to kill sometimes. I'd go visit him, but I couldn't take him home. So it's good to have him home. I bought a motorcycle with a sidecar, so we would take trips around town. I had a boat, so I don't think he loved getting in the water anymore, but he definitely liked being on the boat with us. And
oh, that's great.
I hope I gave him a good end of his career, and I hope I did. I think he did enjoy being home.
It sounds like, did he have a favorite, I don't know, a favorite treat, a favorite food, a favorite thing to do with you once he retired?
Yeah, hanging out with us. As far as food, we feed him. He got pretty spoiled towards the end. We go get him filet mignon and a motorcycle ride. I'm sure he loved being on the motorcycle. And he just loved being home with us. And
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So I'm hoping I'm saying her name correctly. Adriana wanted to know when the dogs are being trained, what training method is used? Is it positive reinforcement? I mean, obviously it's very arduous, but can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, there's definitely positive. Try to keep it as positive as possible. That's one of the biggest things I learned. The dogs can't hear. They don't understand what you're saying. You have to use your emotions, your voice inflection to come across. They have a saying in the dog world, your emotions run up and down the leash. And, at first, I'm a real quiet guy to begin with. And being around a bunch of other SEALs who are also part-time comedians, for you to go do all this stuff and crazy noises to get the dog to understand, I just woke up my dogs. You have to communicate positively. And we do positive, but we also use the other training methods as well. You have to take responsibility. So I learned a lot to be patient, to keep it positive, and I learned about all these different tools to use. Put these tools in their toolbox is what we like to say. And it's on you to train yourself to figure out what your dog needs and to read your dog. And if you're not responsible, then don't do it. I mean, if I take an electronic collar and I put it on my dog and I've shocked him too high, then I take responsibility of that. And I've done it before. I mean, I've taken it and then I feel bad and I put it on myself and I do it back to myself. You know, you know, it's on you to be responsible for what you do to your dog. I mean, you don't sit there and abuse the dog. But you also have to know what kind of dog that you have. If you have a Pomeranian, you might not need the e-collar. You know, a little clicker and some treats, you're going to be just fine. If you have a Husky or full-blown Malinois working dog who's 1,000,000 miles an hour and you don't exercise him and you think that dog's going to be max and do whatever you want, that's not fair to you or the dog, and it could be a liability. It's not fair to the dog. It's going to rearrange your apartment or your house if you come home and you don't give it the proper stimulus and the exercise it needs. So it's on you to know what kind of dog you're getting, knowing what your dog responds to, and training yourself to communicate with the dog, get the point across. You just want to, the dog can't speak English, so you have to basically read his mind. You're like, what are you thinking? Just like me and you, come on, what do you think? You want that message to come across as clear and concise, and timing is huge. And I don't consider myself a great dog trainer. I train my own dogs. There's better dog trainers. I mean, I was a great dog handler, you know, put me in a bad situation, if that makes any sense. But I definitely have done my research, and I definitely learned a lot handling the dog. There's all these different modalities to use, and clicker training can be, positive reinforcement is definitely huge. If I found myself in a bad mood, I'd also have to step back from the situation and being able to recognize that I'm in a bad mood, because you're not going to do anything. It's like, you know, you walk in the breakfast. I like to say, I like to use this example. You walk into the room and your kids are having breakfast and your energy is terrible. And your kids say good morning and you say, shut up. How do you think that's going to go across? Same thing with, you know, not that your kid's a dog, but, you know, you got to get that. If you're coming with bad energy, when you come in and your kids are happy and you're happy, it's going to start the day off great. Same thing with dog training. If you come in and you're just in a bad mood and that energy is going to go down the leash, the dog's probably going to shut down. If you come in happy, energetic, and you just make it as happy as possible, it's great. And then you also have all these other tools to use, whether it's clicker training, treat training, choke collar, prong collar, e-collar. It's on you to recognize what your dog needs and get that point across as quickly and as precisely and as clear as possible so he can pick it up. Because once he gets it, he wants to please you. All the dogs, unless your dog doesn't love you, you might want a new dog. Maybe you don't need a new dog. But if your dog, you know, all your dog wants to do is just make you happy. So if you can communicate to him clearly how to do that, it's just, you know, whatever tool, whatever it takes to get that message across, it's a use.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. I love this question. Augusta asks, she says, I'm 10 years old and I want to be a canine handler. What do you think I can do now to help prepare myself for this type of job? You are awesome.
That's awesome. Just know what you want and go after it with everything. Don't quit. If that's what you really want in life, I think that's awesome. Especially if you love animals, it's a great, rewarding job, and you will definitely get to learn a lot. The animals taught me so much, as I said. Be around a bunch of great people. Really will. It's a very rewarding, fulfilling job. And I say pursue it if that's what you really want with all you have. And that's amazing.
In the meantime, some of us need dog walkers sometimes. That's a great question. Thanks for that one. Barbara wants to know if all units have dogs.
I would say if they're needed, then yeah, I would say most units would have them. I mean, if they're not needed, then no. But dogs are a very valuable tool, not just in the military and special forces. I mean, even in law enforcement, they're needed. There's search and rescue dogs. There's service dogs. There's a wide variety. There's hunting dogs out there. There's these dogs. Just know what kind of dog you're getting, and if you buy a hunting dog, go take it hunting. If you buy just know what you're getting, train it properly, and just make sure you make sure that communication is clear.
Yeah. It's. I think what you said is really important, though. There are dogs. I know myself. I have a retired racing greyhound.
Okay.
Why? Because they make great pets. He loves taking walks, but when it comes down to it, they're total couch potatoes.
Nice.
So he fits with my busy work, right?
Nice.
And I think that self-awareness, that's really what you were talking about. Know who you are so you know what kind of dog you need.
I have 2 Malinois right now, and do I need them? I do. I think I do, because they keep me busy. I go through my own issues, and sometimes I get lazy with not staying on top of working out. And if I stay lazy, they let me know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't let me. If they've had a couple of days off, they're going to drive me up the wall. Literally.
Yeah.
Like they'll go
Oh,
crazy.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. One of them chewed up the floor.
Oh.
It's been a while. I was a puppy. It's been a minute. But you leave them unattended for a little bit. I don't know how. I don't know if it was the boy or the girl. I think it was back when the boy was still a puppy. Somehow he chewed up the floor, the laminate floor. Perfect. So I got to give them a lot of stimulus. They're very smart animals. They don't give them a job. They don't have a job now, but I keep them busy, and I work them multiple times a day. I run them and exercise them. I also give them their rest days, and then I keep them stimulated with.
Mm-hmm. Which is what walks are when it comes down to it. We walk 4 times a day, and I know part of it is it's their way of communicating with the world, right? And anyway, I love this question. If a question came in on Facebook, they want to know if there's a young reader's version of the book.
There is. There's a young reader called Warrior Dog. There's a young reader version.
All right, maybe we could add that to the chat. The young reader's version is called Warrior Dog. I'm repeating that. Okay, that's fantastic. But the book sounds accessible anyway. It sounds like it could be read by a wide range of readers.
Yeah, it's not your typical SEAL book, I guess. It's
okay.
Like a Navy SEAL Marley in me.
There you go.
I was a SEAL, and it does have, I was a sailor. It might have a few cuss words in there. I apologize.
That's okay. We forgive you.
But the young adult reader version is definitely the way to go. It takes out. It's not a very SEAL book. Like I said, it has a lot of dog. It's mostly for Cairo. It does have some stuff. It has some operations and some stuff that we did overseas.
Mm-hmm.
But the young adult reader version takes anything you have to worry about out of there.
That's great. Thank you. I love this question. This is from Susan, who wants to hear about your experience transitioning from being a SEAL to becoming an author. And then the next obvious question to go with that is there another book in your future?
If people want to hear me talk, I guess.
You've got stories.
The transition was very difficult. It was, if I were to write another book, it would be on honestly, my mistakes, so people can learn from them. That's one of the biggest things I learned in the teams. After every operation, we would sit down and be completely brutal with each other, brutally honest. Not brutal, just brutally honest, no matter what. Just telling the mistakes that you made so other people can learn. Because that's how we grow, really grow, and put all egos aside. And you telling your mistake that you did on target could save somebody's life in the future. That's pretty important. We did it there. It's a pretty big responsibility to write this book. It's a very big responsibility. If I'm going to do it, we did a good job. Me and Joe did a great job putting Cairo's story together. And if I'm going to continue talking, then I better make it worthwhile, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can help people out in the future by writing about my mistakes and how I learned from those mistakes, and I'm still learning from those mistakes, and about my brain health and some of the modalities and the things I've been through. And that experience is definitely a whole other book, to say the least. It's been quite the journey. Yeah, I guess there's a possibility, but I don't know. I'm not a big talker. So if people want me to be quiet, I can always be quiet.
Well, and maybe writing your experiences is exactly what we all need, so that we can enjoy it. So this is kind of related to the idea. It's also from Susan. So when you were writing about the mission, did you have to clear it through the Navy or other departments to make sure that classified information was not included?
Yes, I definitely did. The whole book was, it's very important. So if I sound a little weird or I kind of beat around the bush on certain questions, yes, the whole book was approved through the Navy and the Department of Defense, and it went through all the proper channels. So I still have a lot of my teammates that I truly do love and care about and respect. They're still working.
Okay.
Hard job.
So I want to add something to that question. How long did that take?
It took about 3 to 4 years.
Really? Wow. Wow. Did everybody hear that? 3 to 4 years to get that cleared. That's amazing.
Oh, the clearance took a year and a half.
Oh, okay. But the whole book project was 3 to 4 years. Okay. This is the final question. We're going to say some thank yous, and then we might come up with one more question. Was Cairo playful? What was his personality like? Monica
Cairo
wants to know that.
Yeah. He was. All the dogs were really hard workers. They all had that drive, but you like to say the switch. When you go to work, you turn the switch on, put the vest on, time to go to work. When you came home, you take the vest off. Some dogs couldn't turn off the switch as much, just like people. They couldn't turn it off as much as other dogs, but Cairo could. And especially towards the end of his life, I'd have him on the couch with my buddy's kids upside down in their lap. He got attacked by my girlfriend's mom's bulldog at one point and didn't retaliate. The dog got a little toy aggressive and went after him, got him on the arm a little bit.
Wow.
He was just really laid back, even-tempered. He had a great home life. Even when he was still working, though, I could take him around the office buildings, and we had women at the command. Never aggressive towards any guys, and all the women were comfortable petting him. He was a leaner, so he'd lean up against you and cover you in hair. And he had periodontal disease, so he put that hot breath right in your face and blow that. It was pretty gross. He was gross, and nobody cared. Everybody loved him.
Of course, of course.
The guys on the team that were allergic to him, they would pet him. They didn't even care. They're like, it's totally worth it. Everybody loved him.
That's great. Well, we literally have 1 minute left, so I have to thank you, Will Chesney, and everybody. Buy this book. Face in a Book is our official seller. You can get a signed copy there. You can also check it out of Sacramento Public Library. I want to thank Macmillan and St. Martin's Press, who actually published the book, for getting you here to Sacramento virtually. And I want to thank a couple of other people, great staff and crew. James did a beautiful job with the interview portion. I want to thank the Friends of Sacramento Public Library. They're always here for us. Join the Friends if you want to support the library and help us bring more programs like this. And Will, we want you back. So write another book. Come back to Sacramento, and everybody out there who attended. Looks like we had 188 people sign up. That's a nice crowd. And we want to thank you all. And Will, thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me on. It really is great interview.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody for tuning in.
We'll see you again, I hope.